right, so some of your messages before we move on. You are still here on Newsfile on Joy 99.7 FM, and this is your multi-TV Joy News channel. And now says, but something, whether these appointees are working directly at the presidency or not, the cost is borne by the presidency. That is the main issue.
No, that was also true.
It is.
It's true.
No.
Right.
Presidency doesn't pay controller.
An allowance.
Okay.
There is an allowance.
Basangati is not being paid by the presidency.
It's
not true.
No, there's a cost. There's a cost.
The soldiers who are working there, the police who are working there, the guards who are working there, the cooks who are working there, they are not being paid by the president. They are paid by their individual agencies.
There's a differential cost.
Thank you. Thank you.
Stop it.
Thank you.
I work there and I know
Thank
there's
you.
a differential cost.
But we are all working there.
You are not working there. You are a minister.
Maybe that was your practice.
Minister of Defense. I was there. I was there as a presidential
F.O.
spokesperson.
Newton from Mankaso says that it is a total dishonesty, wickedness, and a slap on the face of the poor ordinary Ghanaian for engaging a whopping 998 staffers at the presidency. Nanado must bow his head in shame
for the
money drainage he has created. Musa Abatwa says that I find it hypocritical on the part of Honorable Dominic Nitiwo when he sought to suggest the important topic for you. When JM was in power, did he suggest the triviality or otherwise? Okay, let's get to the issues. This one from... okay, I can't get the sender of this message. All right, when I get who is sending it, I'll share it with you. Harry Baidu says that this same minority had some money from the whip. They returned it after suspecting it was bribe. But this same group never returned or notified the source of their double payment. We'll get there right now. Iliasu in Tamale says that fact is there is not less than 5 ministers of state at the presidency. Wrong. That were all captured. Juxtapose that to the Mahama era. Remember Nanado in his sincerity best included the civil servants who were still at post under Mahama. Okay, that's been the template, I think. Yeah. That's been the template. Yeah. So can I move on and get another message? Because this is quite misinformed. Ibrahim Kopa in Tamale says, on the matter of the lady in waiting, that some people are trying to trivialize, they should do proper research, that's what you want to say, of the title. Lady in waiting, every institution has a specific nomenclature for its job titles. For instance, the title adjutant in the military organization simply connotes a secretary or administrative assistant. The NDC is just trying to divert the attention of Ghanaians on the double salaries. You haven't told us who a lady in waiting actually is. They are in the royal homes or in a court. But of course, if you want, you can adopt and use it. So I suppose that is what is happening here. Musa Abatoa in Kumasi says that I find it hypocritical on the part of Honorable Dominic Nitiwo when he sought to... Okay, this is a message I've already referred to. Let me just read a couple here. And this one, Dogo Yaro says that the list should have been more than that. If you go to the office of senior minister, there are... are you sure about that?
No, the senior minister's list is actually...
Is there?
Yes,
they are all
yes,
the
He said that
all the ministers.
There are 43 plus people there.
No, they are
that's
all
not official. What we're dealing with here is official
they are all included,
list.
actually.
Then you have Charles Darlington. He says that Nitiwul has been... It's misleading. Okay, thank you. Zuru says that please tell the NDC that 998 staffers will not stop the implementation of free SHS, reduction in electricity tariff, restoration of teacher and nursing training allowances, planting for food and jobs, and one village, one dam, etc. Nanado is focused on taking the country to the promised land. But Kojo Ajiman Yeboah says it's very clear now, posterity is at work. Cavalier attitude is on display. It's absolutely clear how inimical it is. Ghanaians will certainly regret voting the NPP. Let me take two more. Nana Hesse Ojiri, whose name is on the list, says that staff of all these ministries and agencies are classified as presidential staffers. It's not just people who work at the presidency. And he gives the list, which has been referred to by Kweku earlier. Office of the Senior Minister, Ministry of Regional Reorganization, Ministry for Business Development, Ministry for Special Initiative, Ministry for Monitoring Evaluation, Ministry for Public Procurement, among others, ECOWAS and schools. But
something looks like people are interested in,
in
this
term.
There's an illegality. It looks like people are interested in the word lady in waiting. But something, you know, you're a lawyer, you've been trained in England. A lady in waiting.
No, I was not trained in England, but I have just said that.
But I'm saying that a lady in
they are
waiting.
used in court and they can also
No. But a lady in waiting technically is, if you look at the definition by the English word and even in the dictionary, it's a lady in waiting or a court lady. It's an assistant to either a person of royal lineage or a high-ranking person.
You're not listening to me. I've explained that. Thank you.
But there's an illegality that we are glossing over. No, there's an illegality.
So it's a description you choose to use. Does it diminish the importance of what you want to do?
Not that. Listen carefully, please.
Let's not go back to the discussion. We're going to double standard.
This is so important. The Presidential Office Act is staff assisting the president and the vice president. If you look at this list, they've actually brought in staff from sector ministries. So, for instance, if you look at this list...
So do that argument
let me
finish.
No, listen.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm unable to take that again. You are going to a list I have just read. Thank you.
Do that argument. We'll remove the numbers. We'll remove them.
We are not discussing. I'm reading people's views. Can we move on?
Look, but you are not even listening. Maybe it's very important. You are not even listening to it.
But we are done. We are done.
Oh, if you have done and we have discovered something that will be of public interest...
Quickly, 1 minute.
Yes.
What is it you have discovered?
There is the special advisor to Minister for Interior. Special advisor to Minister for Interior. There is the special assistant to the Minister for Local Government and Rural Development. There is the personal assistant to the Minister for Roads and Highways. There is a special advisor. There's somebody from Ministry of Education. So my argument is that, strictly speaking, the Office of the President Act is for people who are there to assist the president and the vice president.
Thank you.
So when this list
let's do that now.
This is not a peculiarity. What you are pointing out, it's not a peculiarity of this.
You do that.
We have mentioned that already. I think we should move on. Thank you very much. So you are aware that in the course of the week or even in the previous week, there are former ministers of state who were also MPs who have had to go to the CID because they have been invited, and they have been invited over an investigation. Of course, CID, criminal investigation. They are investigating double payments, that they receive payment as MPs and receive payment as ministers, which the CID appears to feel is criminal, and therefore they are being investigated. Let's listen to some of them who went, and when they were done, what they had to say.
What we appear to be going through is a calculated attempt to dampen our spirits and ensure that we fail to do our work as members of parliament. That will be very remiss on our part if we let what is going affect us to the extent that we are unable to do our work. I wish to assure our constituents and the Ghanaian public that we will continue to hold government accountable, no matter what the consequences will be. We appreciate that these are occupational hazards and we have to go through them. And so we will continue to make ourselves available to the police while performing our duties as members of parliament until such a time that they dispose of the matter, either through their own actions or in court.
It's never true and it can never be true.
What exactly happened?
What happens is whoever has been a minister before, you have something from executive to collect. And you have something as a member of parliament. If they tell you any minister have just a parliamentary salary, is a lie.
So you are saying that currently there are ministers who receive money both as MPs?
Who are getting money from the executives, because if you transfer it to parliament now, it doesn't mean it's not two salaries. It's money from executive, money from parliament.
But does that not amount to double salaries?
It's not double salary because...
What do you call it?
Because they give you money on account, waiting for the determination of your salary. At the end of your term, they calculate everything. Then they give you your balance. They don't give you something that will exceed your extra.
On account, does it come from both the executive and the legislature?
And as I'm speaking to you now, current ministers are getting it. What the difference now is, they don't take it direct from controller, but controller brings it to parliament. And all of them have gotten it before. Everybody who have been a minister before have benefited. Either they give it to you now, or at the end of your tenure, they calculate it in bulk and give it to you.
I have been a member of parliament and was also a minister. And as a member of parliament, I was paid a salary, and as a minister, I was given some amount of top-up. And I don't interpret it to be double salary. And so I think that's essentially the system will correct itself, and we will get to know how it all goes. I won't answer any questions.
Were you aware of the top-up, Honorable?
Yes.
Were you aware of the top-up?
I don't want to answer any more questions.
Because that's what we want to know. Because that's a confusion in the media. We need clarity. That was it double salary or a top-up? So were you aware of the top-up, Honorable?
I told you I have received an amount of money from Parliament and was told that I will be giving some top-ups by the executive. That top-up was paid, and that payment from Parliament was also made. And it's been the case all along. I mean, if you are a member of Parliament and you are elevated to a minister, they pay you from Parliament, and they also pay you from...
Okay, so you've been listening to Honorable Inus Afuseni. You've heard Doye Gansa. You've heard also Rashid Perpo. Who did I leave out? Okay, so they went to the CID and they were questioned, and they have been expressing their views. Now, there are others who have also appeared. Now, this is what Martin Amido has had to say about this, and I start with you, Mahama Yarga. Martin Amido is asking very simple questions. He says that, why should a special prosecutor be prosecuting ordinary Ghanaians, and your honorables will be involved in these things? Then they will be talking to the president to wash it up. Then I have no need sitting here. I won't even have the conscience to continue. Will I have the conscience to prosecute any other body for corruption if the CID finds something prosecutable and are not allowed to prosecute because members of parliament are involved? That is not fair. He continues that the ordinary man going to jail is a human being like a Ghanaian. I don't like this whole idea about political elite. Honorables, you are supposed to be, and then you are just fleecing the country instead. That is an offense of abuse of office for private gain. Then finally, I read this part of what he said. My money was ever paid into my account. When my bank notified me, I told them to return it because that is not what me and the Attorney General agreed. I could have kept it. This is what they should have done. you don't keep the money for 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years. You have left office 1.5 years. You have not made any efforts to return it. Then the CID begins seeing it now. You are rationalizing it, and yet when the ordinary man takes plantain, 1 bunch, he goes to jail for 15 years. So what is the political elite telling us? If it's been happening since 1992 and no one has been seen, has seen it, now it has been seen, those responsible should bear the consequences. This Martin Amido, the special prosecutor, the former attorney general. Yes.
No, I mean, nobody is saying that when an offense has been committed, nobody should be investigated. And if an investigation establishes culpability, that you should not be prosecuted. As you can see, we are dutifully presenting ourselves to the police pursuant to their invitation to assist them carry out an investigation.
It seems to say we are wasting our time, because this is clearly on the face of it that you have abused your office for gain, and it's an offense.
Yes, but that is the problem I have. And to place it on record, I mean, Martin Hamidu is like a father to me. And very often I find myself at public fora, media houses. He says something, and I feel obliged to respond to those issues. And in the end, it looks like, you know, it becomes personal. But let me just indicate that, one, you have to establish first and foremost that there was stealing, because that's what the police is investigating. They're investigating a case of stealing. And I have taken a legal position that, strictly speaking, you cannot say that somebody who works for government, and government is supposed to determine his or her salary and pay that person. Government fails to determine the person's salary lawfully at the beginning of the person's term of office, but ends up determining the salary the last week the person is leaving office. Then, in between the period, government on its own, using previous standards as a ceiling, starts advancing money to that person. Person takes the money. Then the last month of the person's stay in office, you now determine lawfully what the person is entitled to. Then you reconcile your books, and then you pay the person what the person may be entitled to as a difference, which is what the practice has been since 1992. So my argument is that you can't establish a case of stealing because the person has a sense of what the previous standard was, but legally speaking, the person doesn't know his or her salary. So if you are going to prosecute, you must satisfy a judge that you knew your salary and you were paid in excess of your salary, and you took it knowing very well that you were paid in excess of your salary. Because my strict legal position is that you didn't know your salary, because the president who was supposed to act to determine the salary failed to act until your last month in office when he acted. Parliament, which was supposed to act and determine the salary, failed to act until your last month in office.
Madam Gansa and Rashid Prepo talk about top-up.
They don't know. Listen, they don't know.
They talk about top-up.
They are not lawyers.
After taking one salary.
They are not lawyers, so they don't understand what they are saying.
I'm putting you on the spot here.
Yes.
Now, we know that you two, you were invited by the police.
Yes.
What is the case? Is it that you took, say, a cumulative of all of your salary, 100,000 for Parliament, and then you took just about 10,000 or 20,000 as top-up, or you took almost equal amount at each point?
Let me tell you, the police sent a letter inviting me. I had to travel, so I went and took the letter, saw the content. They said, we're inviting you to investigate a case of stealing. And I wrote them a letter. And I said, well, first and foremost, I deny any allegation of stealing. Secondly, so far as I'm concerned, there's no stealing matter here. If anything at all, it is an administrative matter between the Controller Accountant General and the Auditor General. So if you say I have stolen, go and take the committee's determination of my emoluments. Compute it. Go and show me the payments that were made to me. If there's a difference between what the committee determined as my emoluments and the payment that was made to me, and the payment that was made to me exceeds what the committee determined to me as emoluments, when there's a difference, call me and inform me of that difference. And at that point, we can start talking about stealing.
You mean they didn't do that before they called?
Nothing. Nothing has happened so far. They just called and said that they just wrote a letter that, you are being invited for an investigation of the crime of stealing. So I wrote them the letter, and within 2 hours, I received a call saying, don't come again. When we need you, we will call you. So I'm waiting. I called them last week, said, should I still come? They said, no, we said you should wait. When we need you, we'll call you. Why are you calling us? I said, okay, I'll wait. Because if you call me, I would like to bring the records from controller, setting out the payments that was made to me. Bring the committee's report. Let's calculate. If what was paid to me as my conditions of service at the end of the term is less than, what was determined as my conditions of service at the end of the term is less than what was paid to me, then the difference, you can even start talking about stealing. But even there is no stealing. It's an administrative matter. You miscalculated and paid money into my account. So the first administrative thing you do is to write to me saying that we overpaid you by X amount of money. Please, can you send the money back? We're giving you 10 days. Within 10 days, if you don't send the money back, we'll take legal action to recover the money to the state.
Yeah, are you suggesting administrative, as you say,
yes,
that if excess money has come to you and you became aware of it, it's not expected of you to have been honest enough to do what Martin Amidu said he did,
yes,
return the money?
I agree.
Mensabotu has said,
yeah,
has spoken to the public and said,
yeah,
that he's had a similar situation,
yeah,
where he was being paid from the presidency and from parliament.
Mm-hmm.
When he got to know, he realized that it was double payment. Mm-hmm. So he returned the check.
Okay, let me tell you one thing. First and foremost, I agree entirely, as a matter of principle, that if money is paid into your account, yeah, and you know that this money is not it's not payment I'm entitled to, you should check and then also find out where it is coming from and then return the money to the sender.
Right.
But it is perfectly possible, and I'm saying this from personal experience as a member of parliament and a minister of state. Perfectly, and he is here as a member of parliament, and we will spill the beans. The truth of the matter is that, yes, I will say it. I will say it.
They will spill the beans.
I will say it. We receive different payments into our accounts, different payments, and very often I have my phone here. I can give it to you. Yesterday I gave it to your colleagues on Ghana Connect, yes, and he read it. Mm. When a payment comes into my account, my bank notifies me, but my bank never tells me the source of the payment. They just say 10,000 has been paid into your account, 20,000 has been paid into your account, 5,000 has been paid into your account. Now, under our arrangement, it could be a committee allowance. It could be sometimes even the ex-gratia. He's here. Sometimes the ex-gratia, the government itself doesn't have the money to pay the ex-gratia in bulk. So sometimes they can split the ex-gratia and pay you over a period of 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, depend on the availability of funding. Are you saying
that the money that hits your account,
yes,
there's no any paperwork in addition to that before or after it's been paid?
He's here. Ask him. Parliament, please be honest and let's have this discussion here. When was the last time Parliament was paying you and sent you your pay slip? You don't see your pay slip. You need to go and request for it before they give you your pay slip. As a president, somebody as a minister who was working at the presidency, never. If you needed a pay slip to do something, then you went and requested for it, and it will be given to you. So it's not the ordinary arrangement where, on a monthly basis, you get informed that these are the details. And so there is so much happening there.
But it's easy to detect where, yes, we are told that some have actually received double ex gratia, which is supposed to be money in 200, 300 plus 1,000 Ghana cedis. So
yes.
if you are receiving,
let me tell you why.
If you receive that amount and you receive yet another of that same amount or close to that amount, you cannot say it is a top up and then you take it and spend it like.
Okay, let me give an example. Let me give an example. You have, when at the end of your term of office, usually December 2016, the committee's proposals are approved by Parliament and the President. That's when they now sit and compute how much you were entitled to have been paid for the past 4 years. After computing that, then they deduct all previous payments that have been made to you, whether it's coming from Parliament or it's coming from the Presidency. Then the difference is given to you. Very often, you are not even part of the computation process. You don't know because you have just approved the thing in Parliament. It's now for the controller to do the computation. They can compute your entitlements and then deduct the advances that have been paid to you over the 4 years and decide that the difference is 300,000. Very often you don't know. Honestly, you don't know. And they can decide that they are breaking it into two because they don't have money and that week there's pressure and they have to give you half and next week they'll give you half. So you can see 200 paid to you today and you may call and ask, so what is this? They say, oh, it's your salary arrears with this thing, but we don't have money, so we're advancing some of it. You don't even know whether they're advancing 50%, 60%, 80%, because there's no formal letter. Okay. Listen, as we speak, if you ask me for a formal letter, he's sitting here. If he has a formal letter from Parliament saying that following the conclusions of the committee and the approvals by the executive, you were entitled to X amount of money. For the 4 years, we have paid you X amount of money. The difference between what you have been taking and what you are supposed to take is X amount of money, and we'll be paying X amount of money to you. Do you have that kind of record? Okay. No. So if you ask me also at the presidency...
Dominic can't wait to come in. So you hold it briefly.
Yes.
He's can't wait to come in.
He's my colleague. He's my colleague, but I sympathize with him.
So my conclusion...
Right.
No, right. My conclusion on this matter is that there may well be, I don't have the evidence, but I'm saying that the matters that the government has decided to use to divert public attention and create the impression of criminality when they could have resolved it administratively. For you didn't need to call me. That was my point to them. You don't need to call me. All you need is to call the Controller Accountant General, call the Auditor General, let them do the reconciliation, so that when you are even writing to me, you can present it to me and say, this is what we have. Can you respond to this? So that it can make the work easier. If you notice, all the ministers who went and came out, nobody said that's how they approached it.
You are still an MP, so if they did the computation and they wanted to make a deduction, they can deduct as source. But those who are no more MPs, how are they going to do that?
You write to them, ask them to refund it. The public service is the same thing. If you went on retirement and then you were paid more than you were entitled,
thank you.
You are told to refund it.
Thank you. Yes, Dominic.
Something, he's my colleague, and they are my colleagues. I sympathize with them. But I think that if this is the sort of defense that people, if genuinely it happened, they'll have a lot of questions to answer, and they'll get themselves into trouble. First of all, every minister, every MP, and every non-MP who is appointed minister is given an appointment letter. Stated in the appointment letter is your salary scale. So as I said, I know annually how much I will have at the end of the year in that appointment letter, unless the president says a committee to vary it. So I know that at the end of the year, cumulatively, this is how much. So divided by 12, I know that I'll get X amount of money. So when I receive money more than that, and I refuse to disclose it and I refuse to send it back, it's criminality.
Okay. So the fact is that as a minister,
you know how much you are getting.
You know how much you are getting.
By your appointment letter, you know.
And you are getting it on the basis of the previous determination.
I'll give you the reason why you are getting that.
Okay.
Every government is to set up a committee under what we call
every
president, yes. What we call Article 71. Their case and the issue that is being looked at was the Eradi Ama Committee that was set up to look at the salary scale of 2009, 2013, January 6th, 2013. And so every one of them knew the scale or the salary of the MP.
Theirs is not Professor Ade, but Buando.
Buando.
Is it Buando?
Buando, yeah.
That's
Buando
2009 and 2013. So everyone knew. Everyone who was
no, not 2013.
Can I finish?
No,
After that,
I'm finished.
2013
I'm
to
saying
2016.
No. I'm saying that everyone who was appointed in 2013 by President John Mahama knew that there was a committee that was set by the then President Jonathan Mills, 2009-2013, that determined how much an MP will receive, that determined how much a deputy minister will receive, that determined how much. So it was known clearly how much everyone will receive.
Okay,
now,
go on.
once you are appointed as minister, the salary that that minister was receiving, determined by that committee, is what they pay you. The salary of a minister is slightly higher than that of an MP. Between 1,500 and 2,000 cedis, higher than that of an MP. And so, if, for example, what they call a top-up, if that top-up was in that range, not more than what a minister's salary was at that time, I won't have a problem. But if you were receiving, for example, if that committee determined that a minister's salary was 10,000, an MP salary was 8,000, and you receive 8,000 in Parliament and 10,000 from the executive, from controller, you will have questions to answer. But for example, if you receive the 8,000 from Parliament and 2,000 as top-up, so that your salary will be that of the normal minister, you don't have any questions to answer.
Okay.
And I'm saying to you that a lot of them receive full salary as minister and full salary as MP.
You have that evidence.
I'm coming. I'm telling you.
You have that evidence. I don't have any evidence.
Please, I'm saying to you.
I haven't been.
So let me do this
yet.
quickly. Let me give you just an idea of what the differences would be, and I'm referring to the long one, not current one. Okay. Yes, the current one I have referred to portions before here, but this one is the Irama Adi, and it was the final report was done sometime in 2011. Now, this is what was, if you are cabinet minister and MP, you were on a grade 70. Cabinet minister and MP, you were on a grade 70. And that grade 70 or award point 70 gave you 8,400. If you were cabinet minister and non-MP, then you were taking 7,800. Good. So you see the difference, yes. 8,400 and 7,800.
Look at the MP.
Then if you were Minister of State and MP, there's a differentiations at various categories. Minister of State and then MP at the same time, you were at 65 points. So you were at 65 points, you were taking 7,800. If you were Minister of State and non-MP, you were taking the same amount. If you're a regional minister and MP, you were at 65 points and you were taking 7,800. If you were a deputy regional minister and MP, you were at 55 points and you were taking 6,600. Deputy regional minister, if you were non-MP, you were taking 6,000. Deputy regional minister, non-minister. Deputy regional minister, non-MP. You were taking 6,000. And so the differences are slightly, just around 1,000 or so.
But what I'm trying, that's the point I've made to you, that...
And it hasn't changed over time.
No, it has not changed.
Right.
It's always like that. What I'm saying to you is that an MP salary is different from that of being a minister, especially a cabinet minister and non-cabinet ministers. Your salaries are different. The moment you are appointed, you get a letter that states your salary. But if you are an MP and you are being paid from Parliament, you are paid a little lower than that. So what they did in their time is that some of them receive what we call a top-up from there. What we have done in our time is to all get our salary from Parliament, and they give them that top-up to get exactly how much a cabinet minister will earn or a minister will earn. Minister MP, minister non-MP, but we are talking of minister MP. But when you have a case where somebody takes full salary as an MP, and then that scale we are talking about, he takes full salary as minister. That's what we are talking about as double salary. It's not about those of you or some of you who maybe got that 1,000 top-up.
Difference
No,
top-up,
we are not talking about that. We are talking about people who took full salary. Because you know your salary. So if you took it, you were committing a crime.
And
Secondly,
so it is true
that
some took the ex gratia in that
huge
amount
I'm not talking about ex-gratia.
as MP and took it as a minister again?
I am talking about salary.
No, we are told that ex-gratia was taken.
Well, let the police deal with that. I'm talking about salary, and now we're talking about double salary.
Right.
So
double ex-gratia.
They should talk about that. They should talk about that. 2, MP, if you're an MP, should be, and you're appointed a minister, you should be very careful. I'll give you an example. I was appointed an MP. Okay. And by the time we came, Parliament...
You were elected an MP.
I was elected an MP and appointed minister. But when I was elected MP, Parliament said to you, which is by the law, that Parliament has to provide you with accommodation, for example. So, because Parliament... It's difficult for Parliament to get buildings for all 275. They'll give you 2 years rent in advance for you to do. So if I took that money, and then, because I became a minister, they give me an accommodation, and I go and stay in that gambler without returning the original rent, I am committing a crime. And he knows it. That some of their people had a similar problem as well.
There are suggestions that the current leaders in Parliament, some of them are doing the same thing.
But I'm saying to you that so because of that, because I took that money, I'm not staying in a government bungalow. I know the implication. So you take personal responsibility. Like me, Dominic, too. I know I have not done that. Because I was very conscious that if I did that, it was criminal. I was stealing from the state.
Okay.
So if, for example, I were to go and say, well, a minister's salary is 10,000, and I take it because I'm a minister from controller, then MPs are being paid from Parliament. I take 8,000 from MP because I'm an MP. Because I am MP and minister, you are committing a crime. And you are stealing. That's why they are charging them for stealing. It has nothing to do with top-up.
But they didn't ask you to pay the money into the account.
Well, maybe they think that they didn't ask, but it's your duty to return that money. Otherwise, you knew.
So you make a mistake and then you come and call me.
They didn't make a mistake because you fill the forms. You have to fill IPPD forms.
Okay.
They don't just pay the money into your account. In Parliament, if you are an MP and you are a continuous MP, you don't fill IPPD forms. But with controller, you would have to fill an IPPD form. So if you are elected Bolga Central today and you become an MP, you are being paid from Parliament. The day that the president makes you a minister, you have to fill IPPD forms for controller to be able to pay you. So the moment you decide to fill the IPPD and controller starts paying you double salary, you knew of what you were doing. So you cannot absolve yourself from criminality. I'm saying to you...
There's a claim that some actually had 2 different accounts and 2 different signatures.
It is very, very possible. I don't know. I don't have that. I'm not the police. But I'm saying to you that you need to fill IPPD form before controller will pay you. Because the sources are different. It's the same consolidated fund. The law says you can't get 2 salary funds. Consolidated fund. That's why for the issue, no. That the law is very clear. You cannot get 2 payments. Salary, what is salary? Salary is very clear. Payment from an employer to an employee. That's a form of payment. That's what we call a salary. So you are a minister. That's why the president, in trying to justify the 175, said, look, 70 of my ministers are already MPs. So I'm not going to pay them a double salary. So when people were saying that 110, he was going to pay a lot, he said, no. Remember that 70 of my ministers are MPs, so I'm not going to pay them double salary. And they've also received rent, so they will not be staying in government bungalows. If you go and take a government bungalow today and you are staying in it, and then you have not returned your rent, you are going to be in trouble. So your mates, a lot of your mates who did that, they'll get themselves into this same trouble if investigation is carried out and they are found culpable that they receive rent, and also stayed in government bungalow, as I know a lot of them did, they'll find themselves in serious trouble.
So if Kweku, let's get Kweku to can you keep your point?
Okay.
Can you note it down? Okay. Let's get Kweku to come in here. One other thing that baffles me is the differences in the salaries of a minister MP and a minister non-MP.
Oh yeah, it's there.
And the motivation. There's a certain rush and desire to want to be minister, even when you are MP, when the salary difference is so small? Or is it because of the other privileges you get?
What privilege?
Of course, apart from the salary, you get all these
leadership
privileges.
in Parliament enjoy the same privileges as when I was deputy minority leader. I enjoy the same privileges as being a minister. The same.
Okay.
There's no difference.
Because I'm looking at the privileges.
I say the same. It's
the
same.
privileges list, and it's good.
It's good. When we are deputy, it's the same.
It's really good.
In
fact, the salary is nothing. It's really good.
Do you want to join?
No, I'm not interested. Kweku, the system is broken down. From the narrations they both gave, the system is what is broken down.
The human beings who are in the broken system are themselves part of the problem. If they exercise a certain level of ethical responsibility, perhaps the system that is broken could be fixed. I have been very cautious in handling this matter. And you remember last week, my position was that we needed a situation where the Auditor General, that's the Audit Service, the Controller and Accountant General, the Finance Department or Directorate of Parliament, and indeed even the one of the Presidency, to come on board and do a proper, comprehensive interrogation of the issue. And beyond that, if any criminality was discovered or uncovered, then the CID's intervention could be triggered. In principle, I'm still on that line. The only thing is I was disturbed this week, or is it last week, with the intervention of the majority leader. It really hit me like a thunderbolt, because here was the majority leader making some disclosures that fundamentally undermined my original premise. I still hope and pray that what the majority leader said does not reflect the truth. It's a sincere wish, desire.
What did the majority leader say that you're talking about that does not reflect the truth? There are people who
I'm praying, I'm hoping. I'm not saying he lied, but I'm hoping, because then it changes the dynamic.
If it's about the claim that Haruna Idrisu, the minority leader, spoke to the president to intervene, to compromise the situation, Haruna Idrisu says he had a conversation with the president, but he never asked him to...
No, Haruna Idrisu says that he won't disclose.
Okay, right. He won't disclose his communication.
He discussed with the president. And that is discreet. That's an exercise of discretion that I respect and accept for good reasons. I doubt if the president himself would also speak to what Haruna Idrisu is alleged to have discussed with him. But you know, we journalists, we are very troublesome animals. So we go around noosing about things. I think that what I have picked in the grapevine is to the effect that what Haruna Idrisu did was virtually like what I was proposing. Do you understand? Yes, he wasn't begging for amnesty or the president to show any mercy, but he was trying to suggest the way forward. And the way forward would have embraced the Audit Service, Controller and Accountant General, and the rest to come on board and see what to do. After that, if there's a criminal element, the police CID comes in. I'm beginning to think, because of how things are going, and listening to my brother Ayariga, I'm beginning to think, even though it's not an obligation, it's not compulsory, that the police ought to be giving us some updates. You know, I'm not asking for full disclosure, but I'm asking for some preliminary things to be made public. What is it that they are investigating? Some of these updates cannot compromise the investigations overall. It helps also to diffuse rumors and speculations.
But those who have attended have told us that they have been cautioned on stealing.
Yes, but doesn't mean...
So we know it is stealing.
No. You see, Oseche Mensah brought out double salaries as the key point. Not even ex gratia or salary arrears.
Right.
You remember last week here, we were looking at all those possibilities. But here is the majority leader claiming that some of those people who are being investigated have indicated that indeed they gave out 2 separate accounts.
Right.
And monies went into those accounts. From
Even different signatures.
Yes. That is a disclosure that must be interrogated thoroughly. Is the police dealing with anything like that or not? Is it ex gratia they are dealing with or not? Because you hear some of them, they are talking of salary arrears, so they come back to the committees that presidents form. But what I know, and I think it comes close to what Nitu was saying, is that the previous package is subsisting till the new one comes in.
Right, that's what happens.
Yes.
So
you know.
Presently, what will be operating will be the Boando, report.
Yes.
And so, the question I have asked them is about from what you know, is it the case that, because by the Boando Committee report, what the report finally was about 15,000 for these people. I know that ministers of cabinet status were to be paid the same as the speaker. They were almost on the same level. But what was eventually approved was more than that amount for them. So if you are receiving in parliament, as a member of parliament, so much, and then you are receiving as a minister of a cabinet status, is that what was going on? So much, and you can't make a difference.
But that's a key point, okay? If it's just, but this parliament, 5th January 2017,
okay.
They met some closed session,
yes,
where they revised slightly
yes.
this committee's thing in terms of the points and relativities. There were slight changes.
Yes.
And the most significant revision was the one to do with president in terms of residential accommodation. But and they did a list here, you are saying the minister, they did a list, monthly salary per year. And you have all of them here. Cabinet minister, MP, was by 2016, his thing was 22,724 Ghana cedis. Minister of State, MP, was 20,000. No, it's all here. It's a big list.
Right.
I have the whole list here. So things changed. But I'm saying that from day one, you must have an idea that this is how much you are entitled to in terms of salary. Okay? If you go to Articles 71.3, that's my relevant point of, you see, in terms of salaries. For the purpose of this article, and except as otherwise provided in this Constitution, salaries, quote unquote, includes allowances, facilities, privileges, and retirement benefits or awards. That is why initially I was confused as to what exactly was being dealt with by the police. And then the people who had been invited to, some were talking, when you listen to them carefully, they are telling you about arrears that come the tail end because the new salaries have come on board. There is a certain addition that they must be paid. Okay? I've investigated some of them in terms of their claims and things. To be honest, if the police does a professional job, some of them may turn out innocent.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why I keep on asking for updates. There are few that will be difficult to sustain any defense on their behalf. And this comes out of the fact that if you look at the quantum of what they claim to be top up, it obviously couldn't be. Okay, so it's something I've decided, to be honest with you, there's a lot I've picked up in the last 48 hours that I'm restraining myself from putting in public domain because I think we've come to a certain principle that we ourselves should exercise restraint when it comes to using the public space to try people who have been accused. We've established that principle here carefully. But double salaries, that one, if it turns out to be true, and in some few cases, what I have seen, very disturbing, those people may have a difficulty in defending themselves. If it's the ex gratia, it appears there's a problem there too, in terms of how much you were to be paid and how much you get. That can be easily subject to some reconciliation. Look, and that would not be new. Like 2001, many of them were overpaid in terms of ex gratia because the Minister of Finance and the Chief of Staff then gave the Controller and Accountant General some factors to use.
Okay.
And in the process, they were overpaid. Even the former President Rawlings, who was not entitled to ex gratia, was paid. At the end of the day, reconciliations were done. I have letters here. One of them is from Mr. Kojo Yanka, who was written to. And he wrote back and said, look, I agree. I've realized that I've been overpaid, double ex gratia. I'm prepared to pay, but this is my payment schedule.
Right.
And government agreed, and he effected payment.
Okay.
So we have that example here. And there are many, the 2000 hours, almost all of them, because don't forget, they paid themselves before they exited. That's 2001. That became part of the problem. It wasn't the new administration that paid.
Right.
And they had been paid double. Some who didn't qualify for ex gratia were given. But that was an ex gratia matter. Of course, they use their salaries per 4 months, like for a quarter of your year to total. And they got so much money. But they some of them paid back. I don't know about those who didn't pay back.
All right.
That's not exactly what is happening now. And that's worrying. But I think that it is better we don't judge ahead of the police investigations.
Okay.
And then take our time for these allegations to come out. There'll be a new one. If Kwigubakon had done that, I would have been called, there he goes, Mr. Equalizer. There's a new one about rent allowances.
Yes.
That's
what I was referring
brought
Dominic
into the
to.
picture.
It's not true.
And the speaker especially has also been brought in.
Yes.
Yes, my own checks show that you see, I have the list here. Yeah. See, I have this list of, it's made up all the MPs, including those who are ministers. This is 275. Everybody's here. You are here, he's here. And all the monies they have taken, it's all here. I don't know the situation, but they all have been given rent allowance. Those who are staying in state bungalows, I'm investigating. Those who apparently some send their monies back. Some have not done that. Now the speaker is not here. And I've checked, I've got the records. The speaker apparently, apart from official functions, 2 or 3 that is held in that residence, when the Nigerian speaker came to Ghana, the Chinese ambassador who is outgoing, the speaker is yet to take up residence in the Laboni residence. It will be handed over to him formally May this year. What I've seen is that from February 2017 to March, I've seen documentation where a rent advance of 4,784 was given to the speaker in lieu of bungalow, the fact that he's not living there. So the publication that the speaker had been given 2-year rent advance of 100
whilst he's still in a state accommodation
is incorrect, factually incorrect. And I've gone for this one is my journalistic exploits. I have the payment slips, pay slip report for all those months, including those of the MPs.
Do you have those who have occupied before?
Yeah, I have all. I have.
So
you see, and that's what I think. If the police are doing their homework and they've gone for all these things, I want to hold my fire and let them do their work and bring us report. But I'll be happy if they give us updates.
Because otherwise, what Mama Yaga said to start with, shows that they are actually doing a shambolic work. They have not done their own computations to be clear that, you have actually received excess payment. And they are inviting the man. And he shows them that you can't, if you don't do this, I won't submit to you in the first
place. And we were not there. You and I were not there. But this man is a friend. I think he has integrity. And he said this. The police are listening.
Of course.
That's why they are required sometimes to give updates so that we don't rely on Mr. Ayarega's integrity to decide things here.
But we don't even know why the police have not called him, do we?
Oh, no, I don't know why.
Yes. They haven't called him.
They have not. No, they called him and asked him to stop. We don't know why.
Then his is too preliminary.
Yes.
It means that nothing much has happened.
It's because of this letter or some other reason. They just
it could actually be there's nothing to call him on
so
again.
They just said, wait,
so his case may be different, slightly.
Okay.
But I can tell you, our members of parliament, you see, parliament is a very important
But what
institution.
I know is that the police have been doing this investigation on this double salary for the past 6 months.
I had no idea.
I know that for a fact.
No, I had no idea.
So the police have done a thorough job. I know that for a fact.
Sure.
Otherwise, they won't call you.
It means they've gone for all these pay slips. They've gone for all those things, bank accounts and all that. If the police have all those things, then, well, let them do some work and give us updates.
Okay, let me bring Prof in here.
That's the best.
Okay. Let me bring Prof in here. But before I do that, a very good friend of mine sends me, he's a lawyer, and sends me this military personal assistant, lady in waiting, quote unquote. And this is the job description. Supervise and ensure FL's close security and convoy, carry out continuous threat analysis, organize, prepare, and brief the, who is FL? Is it Flight Lieutenant or what?
First Lady.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, First Lady. On schedules and event. Follow up on First Lady's arrangements and schedules. Updates First Lady and coordinate her schedules and deadlines. Organize and ensure vehicles are prepared and convoy ready for movement. Maintain a diary of activities with her consent. Ensure daily domestic. Hey, that's a lot of work for the lady in waiting. It's a lot of work for the lady in waiting. Okay, now, again, question is, if the system was not broken, we would not be talking about this. Where, as we are now learning, you know, people who are taking so much, so to speak, have taken double of that, and they are now being, you know, that act is being criminalized.
Well, Samson, I'm not sure about the criminality because I'm not a lawyer, so I won't wade into that discussion. But I will look at the system issues. And system issues, and the first one I have is why, for example, we would wait till people finish their service before we determine exactly what it is that they are entitled to. I think that has to be dealt with. I understand the argument about, okay, there's some conditions that will be enforced until a new one is determined. Because if you know what parliamentarians go through, for example, they come into office and all of them are given vehicles to let them be able to work. And if they are given vehicles to be able to work, and these vehicles are so expensive, what happens is that you would get a certain sense that parliamentarians would have very little money to take home. And so if that becomes the case, then every parliamentarian will be under extreme pressure to be able to survive. And so you wait till the end of the year when they still have some arrears because they wouldn't have finished paying for the vehicles yet. Under what conditions were you going to balance out the accounts and say they are going home with negative? So whatever it is, we might have to find a system that ensures that they go home with a positive balance. And that makes it completely unacceptable. Otherwise, we all are going to be asking that when we finish working, then we get treated the way that they are getting treated. So that's my first problem with our system, and that I think we should correct that. The other one, again with the system, is the extent to which Parliament itself, which is supposed to be the institution that holds all of us account, especially the executive account, into account, are the people who, like Honorable Ayadga said, I don't know how much I'm paid. You know, it's not clear. I don't get a pay slip. I don't get that. That is completely basic. And if Parliament cares about protecting the public purse for Ghana and not just that their interests are at stake, then the officers who work on these, it should be very easy for the leadership of Parliament to come out and say, please, make sure everybody who is paid gets a pay slip. Make sure people are told exactly how much they get and all of that. So the argument about, well, we don't know how much it is that we are paid, and therefore if money dropped in my account, I can get away with it, it's completely unacceptable. So parliamentarians must do us some good and ensure that if money drops in your account and that money is more than what you anticipate to get, you should come out. And that's what takes me to the next point about the moral argument, the ethical argument about I earn 50,000 and 20,000 or 30,000 of the 50,000 gets deducted for a vehicle. And so I know that I should be getting 20,000 or whatever the difference is. Then I see money that is completely bigger than what I am anticipating that I can get. Then I accept and go ahead and spend that money. It's difficult for anybody to accept this. And when the issue, my big brother talks again about the issue about conditions of service, and we know the history of Parliament and the many allegations that have come up. I mean, I'm sure you understand or you remember the UK system where people, in our case, people have not deliberately gone to fidget records to earn money. So the system is not working well, but the system gives you money, and you are supposed to be the one ensuring that the system works well. And you don't correct the system, and you keep enjoying that. It's difficult to come back and tell the people of Ghana that we are sorry. It is because the system is not working well. That is why I get this money, and that's why I owe. And that's why I've taken the position. My colleagues disagree. I've taken the position that when we ask them to pay back this money, we're not going to just ask them to pay back the money, but they have to pay back the money with interest, because they were supposed to have known that this money I am getting is so when you don't do that due diligence and then you take the money, it is assumed that
would be difficult to require from them if you are not using a court process that will make that order. If it is a court process that concludes that they were at fault, then the automatic thing will follow with interest. Well, but if the fault cannot be traced to them, then you cannot ask for interest.
Well, if you use legal fault finding, you may not find. But that's not. But
we live in the rule of law.
Yes, but that is why for those of us, because you see, for the ordinary citizen, for the ordinary citizen, as an academic, I know that's why I said I didn't want to wade into the legal things, because I don't understand that a lot. But for the ordinary citizen and the responsibility that we have, and the social contract that we have with politicians, we anticipate that politicians will treat us with a lot of circumspection and interest. So if it is established that you were supposed to know, like he said, you were supposed to know, because you know that you cannot be getting 20,000 if your salary at one point was only 10,000. And you were supposed to know that you have 10,000 to collect, and you get 20,000. There is no way you should not feel suspicious. I'll give you an example. I used to work for the university that I attended in the UK. And when I was coming down, I did work that I was supposed to be paid. And then I found that I got an email saying, please send us your account details so we can pay money into your account, because your UK account was no more functional. And I had done work and I had been paid. So I was not expecting to be paid any money. But oftentimes what happens is that if your taxes and those things get calculated and you don't end up to a certain limit, you get a refund. So I send a mail with my account details. Then I get money in almost £6,000 paid into my account. When I found the money, I thought that this was money that was way above what I was supposed to. So I sent an email and said, I don't anticipate that I'll be paid for any job, because for the jobs that I've done, I've been paid. Right. So please clarify where this money is coming from. I didn't get an email, and I was scared to spend the money, so I kept waiting until I did another job. And when they had to pay me for that new job, then I got an email saying, we had overpaid you some time ago, up to almost £6,000. So please return the money. So I forwarded the email that I had sent earlier inquiring, and I said, look, I had sent you this email, and you didn't respond. But I have the money sitting in my account. I didn't spend the money. Okay. I'm going to send the money to you, less the bank charges that we're going to be back and forth.
Right.
We expect our parliamentarians to be the ones who will set a higher standard for all of us, especially that they have the responsibility to hold everybody accountable.
He's saying that yes, the calculation is done at the end when they are leaving office.
Yes,
and therefore it is even difficult because he doesn't know.
No, you see, Samson, the issue about ex gratia and end of service benefits does not come in here at all.
Oh.
It doesn't. It doesn't because because I have salary that I have to take. So in his case, you become minister. You are a member of parliament.
Take example, those who are in power now.
Yes.
You are a minister, you are in parliament.
Yes.
What you are taking now.
Yes.
Is not what has been determined as your salary.
Yes.
You are taking that on account.
Yes, you are taking that on account based on a certain figure.
Yes,
that
which
figure,
is the previous.
Yes, exactly. So that figure you certainly know.
Is that a lawful figure?
Well,
we're talking law here.
That's what the role that you should be playing.
What you in fact,
yes.
What you in
that's
fact,
the point I've been making.
What you in fact and in law will be entitled.
Yes,
is what normally, which we appear to be doing it wrongly. It's a question that we have to ask to conclude on this subject. Whether or not the president should be setting up those committees when they are going out or when they are immediately.
I agree with you. The point is that there is a document that quotes a figure, like he said, that your letter of appointment quotes for you.
Unlawful.
Well, it's unlawful, but at least you know the figure.
Yeah.
Now, if that figure is known, yes, you know the figure. So if you get double that figure at the end of every month, it should prompt you. That's the point that we are making. The point is that you have a figure that you're supposed to be working at. You get to, and especially that you know that your parliamentary salary is going to be heavily deducted for your vehicle. So how much you get there is going to be reduced. And then you see in your account a certain figure from Parliament. And then you see again another figure that is perhaps more than the figure that you're supposed to be getting as a member of Parliament. That should definitely raise issues. And I'm saying that Parliament as an institution has the responsibility to have checked that. If Parliament didn't do that and parliamentarians went ahead and benefited, I'm sure that you are going to have difficulties holding me before Parliament if you hear that in my department I have misappropriated some money. Because I'll come there and I'll bring you your own records and say, this is what you have done before. It doesn't make sense to come and make that argument. But in the minds of the public, we expect a lot from parliamentarians. And the parliamentarians are supposed to hold us accountable. If the systems are not working, if there's a civil servant who is not providing pay slips and making sure that we know exactly what we have to do, you can hold everybody before Parliament. Parliament has that power. So when you don't do that because it is your interest that you are seeking to protect, then it becomes problematic.
Okay.
Let me.
Okay.
A few minutes.
Okay, I guess a couple of messages, and Kofi Bento says that the president cannot determine the salaries in advance. That is totally unacceptable. That is totally unacceptable. And he had wanted me to ask earlier, Jubilee House doesn't have a working government email system. People still use their email, their Gmail and Yahoo mails.
I went there for Hillary Clinton.
Okay. And several other stuff are being used across the whole place. So it tells you we are not doing certain things in the right way. So that quick intervention, we are taking a break in 2 minutes. Yes, do it.
You see, this is the emoluments report.
Yes, that's a Bwando committee report.
And this was approved, and this was in relation to workers from 2013 to 2017.
Yes.
And this was approved in December 2017. 16,
okay.
December 2016.
But I was noting that what you are holding, what was really approved, it's enhanced.
Yeah, no, that was varied. Yeah. No, I'm just saying that as a procedural matter.
I've heard people say 15,000.
No, I'm not talking even. I'm not
take it easy. It's more than that.
I'm not even talking about the figures.
It's 20,000.
I'm not going to the figures.
Because the lawyer is talking procedure now.
Right. Yeah, I'm talking because they have chosen to investigate stealing. That's why I'm trying to point out that no, you can't say stealing because you yourself determined, the state determined what I'm entitled to in December 2017. So I'm not even going into the merits. I don't want to prejudice like Kweku Bakwasa. If you notice, throughout my discussions on radio, I've even gone into the merits of what each person collected or did not collect. Okay. When they invited me, the first thing I said was, wait, you determine what I was entitled to in 2016 December. And the monies were given between 2013 to 2017. Now, since consciously, I only knew the figure in 2016 December. Legally speaking, you were just advancing me money. And so today, if you have a problem as a state, what you do is that you take my emoluments as determined in December 2016, compute the total. What you have been advancing me, which is not based on law, but based on your discretion that, okay, I will be giving you whilst the president decides when he will determine what I'm supposed to give you.
That was no understanding like that.
Oh, but that is the law.
That is the law. Argument.
But it's not that is the law. You see, let's talk about. You see, here instead of us realizing that our presidents have been doing the wrong thing, and that they should be determining the conditions at the beginning.
Yes, it's difficult to understand that.
So I said that for me, administratively, that's what you do, because you yourself have failed to perform your constitutional duties, creating a situation where controller staff have to exercise their discretion, and Parliamentary Service Board also has to exercise its discretion to advance its workers some amount of money. So if there's some computational error, what you do is you deduct it. If there's a difference, now come and let's discuss that. And that is what has happened. No, Kweku Baku mentioned, for instance, that in the past, things like that have happened, and what they did was they had to write to them and then ask them to return their money.
Honorable, that's what I was talking about, those of us on the streets.
You see, this man, he brings a defense agreement to Parliament. The defense agreement is not going well. So he says, what can I put out there so that people will be distracted?
Thank you.
But
I gave you 2 minutes. I wanted to ask this small bit. When Martin Amidu, when he says that what you have done is an offense of abuse of office for private gain, I'm asking, I mean, literally, do you have any offense like this in our books? Offense of abuse of office for private gain.
Yeah, that's corruption.
This is the international World Health, the UN's definition of corruption. That's not your definition of corruption in your books.
Right.
Martin is my father. I don't want to.
To be
judging
then we take a break here.
We'll be right back.
But the key thing,
you are Joy FM, you are receiving, say, 3,000 a month. And then suddenly, you have been told that, you get a salary increase.
We don't know. All these are speculations. We don't know. Because the police haven't issued a statement saying exactly what happened.
You don't.
Listen, the police haven't issued
money I receive in my account.
A statement saying what happened.
I expected it, or immediately it hits my account. I know the source.
At least you want to verify.